Today on Adversity to Strength, I'm joined by Dame Clarissa Burt, a woman whose life and career embody resilience, reinvention, and global impact. Clarissa is an internationally acclaimed award-winning media personality, producer, director, writer, author, speaker, former supermodel, with hundreds of television and film credits as the winner of Celebrity Survivor. She's been a household name on both sides of the Atlantic. She's the founder and CEO of the Limelight Media, a multimedia platform seen on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and more. And she is the international best-selling author of The Self-Esteem Regime, a transformative book that empowers readers to rebuild confidence, self-worth, step by step. Her extraordinary journey has earned her global recognition from two private audiences with Pope John Paul II, to be anointed by the Royal Order of Constantine the Great and St. Helen, to receiving the Araldo Award by Prince Albert of Monaco. In this episode, Clarissa opens up about the adversities she has faced, the strength it took to overcome them, and how she continues to inspire millions worldwide with her message of resilience, empowerment, and self-esteem. Clarissa, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the podcast.
The best thing ever. I have to say, first of all, your accent, I could talk to you all damn day. It was just the greatest thing to listen to the English accent as an American, number one. Number two, your listeners don't know yet that we've already had the first show. Like, we already talked for an hour before we started our podcast today.
We did
So I'm so
indeed.
glad. I'm so glad because now we know each other better and you can ask me really cool questions about self-esteem and I'm here to answer anything.
Thank you so much. And yeah, it's great talking to you earlier on as well. Tell me for yourself, where did your journey start? Because it's been an eventful one for you.
The journey started, gosh, I think the first thing that I could tell you was as far as, the trajectory of my life and, how it sort of played out. I was 5 and, I was Mary Poppins in the kindergarten play. And it was just an extraordinary experience because I then understood that, just by singing supercalifragilisticexpialidocious and getting a, standing ovation, that I loved being on stage. And I knew by the time I was 5 that I wanted more of that. It was just too fun. And I was always a pretty energetic child and really kind of out there, so that was, I think, part of it as well. And then I grew up into the teen years, and that's kind of the self-esteem years and lack of self-esteem and a little bit of shyness. I was always a little on the shy side, but outgoing at the same time. I can't explain that any better. Just a little bit of the shyness came along, and I was tall and lanky and flat-chested and a loner, but not lonely. Don't know how to explain that any better, or I do, but I don't want to waste your time. But anyways, just, I was one of those kind of girls that kind of just was never a part of the clique. I never really fit in. It was that square peg and round hole kind of thing. And from there, I think is where I really needed to, I found sort of my powers and superpowers along the way. And I started out back in the day in these self-help sections of the bookstores here in the United States. And it was Walden Books, Border Books, and Barnes and Noble. And back in the little corner, there was a section called self-help. And that's where I would go. And that's where I'd gravitate and I would navigate and I would learn about the things and the questions that I had. I would get my support, my assistance, my guidance, the reasons why and the way out, because life was, life is life, isn't it? It's going to life all over the place until you figure some things out. And so that's kind of where it all started for me. And I knew as an early, I graduated high school early, about 6 months early. And I wanted to get into the bright lights of New Jersey at the time. And I wanted to get into the bright lights in the big city of New York. And so that's what I did. And I started to be a secretary for a company back in the 1979. I graduated high school in 77. So by 1979, I was in the city. And I was working as a secretary, and people say, you really should be a model. And I said, oh gosh, I could never. No, I think you really could be I could never. And so I think it was the part fear, part never thinking I could, until I put my mind to it and said, I'm going to try. I'm going to give it a good old college try and see if it's going to work. And it did. And I was like, wow, okay, well, this is cool. This is kind of cool. Maybe just with a little bit of believing in yourself and putting a little bit of elbow grease into things, because nothing comes for nothing. We do have to work for things in life.
Yeah.
That might come as a surprise to many people, but you work for it, and you have to want it, and you have to have the dream and believe in the dream. We've heard that a million times, and that's kind of where it all started. Lee, I started to model in New York City. The next thing I knew, I was in Paris. I was there for about a year, and then off I went to Milano, and I was in Italy when I fell in love with Italy. And so I stayed and I did my modeling years there, which were amazing. And then I moved into movies. So that's where the Never Ending Story became when I was the mean queen as
Yeah.
Zaire. sort of do. And then I went in the movie, and then I went into television. So I started off as on-camera talent, so I'd be in front of the camera. And then I started to produce Italian television as well. And so I was in the backside. So each step of the way, believe it or not, each time I stopped one thing and started another thing, it was like this year or 2 years worth of, but I'm so scared. Oh, but I could never. But who am I to think I could? But how do I do this? And how am I going to? I have this burning desire, but I don't believe in myself. So, it wasn't like all, whew, we just got it all done. There was a little bit of trepidation along the way of, those what I call those daily demons that would pop back up and say, "Who do you think you are? You're never going to be able to die." And I really had to work. That's the part I had to work on a lot. People do ask me, why did I write the book? And that is because, as a young girl, I was born into a household that was pretty dysfunctional. But as I was watching my mother, she's a beautiful woman. I pull out the picture every once in a while, Lee, just to give tons. I tell you, my mother's beautiful. But mom was really a lovely looking woman. I don't know what you see.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
She's 24 there. I'm 5. That was my, can you see the whole picture?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what you see. And so that was me at Mary Poppins age. So mom, beautiful woman. And unfortunately, here we have 12 years of the Catholic nuns, the Irish Catholic father that was one of 16. So you get the drift, right? It was really severe, and 1958 and the whole thing. So she was born in an era and under a dogma, if you will, of, good girls don't. Well, mom got pregnant with me when she was, right out of high school. And there's a girl who, with 800 girls in the graduating class, was salutarian, which means she was second in her class. And she was on the dean.
Huh.
So my mother was brilliant, and
Yeah.
is brilliant. She's still with us. And she, so there you go, 58. What do? Now you become the black sheep. Now you're shamed. And now you made your bed and you're going to lie in it. Well, she made her bed with a violent man who was
Right.
also an alcoholic. And she didn't know that when she was, they were dating, and, it was early days. So long story short is that's, one of the reasons was watching mom and, saying, "Oh, I'm not pretty. Oh, I'm not smart." And I'd say, "Mom, she always negated everything I said." Fast forward to my grandmother, another lovely looking woman, just beautiful. And so I don't know, at a certain point in around her 50s, she decided she just needed to lose weight, which she didn't. Takes 2 diet pills, follows them. She chokes on them, perforates her esophagus, and spends 6 weeks in the hospital. Now, I, as a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old, am looking at these 2 women going, my perception of you is that you're perfection. Our perception of you is quite different. And I'm trying to figure that out. So fast forward to the modeling years. From now, I'm modeling with the 1% of the women, most beautiful women in the world. We're on all the runways. We are on the covers of magazines, beauty campaigns, the whole thing. And even there, where you would think, well, she's beautiful, she should have no problem at all. Well, doesn't work that way, because self-esteem doesn't discriminate, right? And,
Yeah, of course.
and so, there were some issues there. It was, bulimia and anorexia and drugs and drinking and toxic relationships. We're young, we're learning, we're kind of navigating this thing called life. And by the way, it wasn't every model, but it was there. So I thought to myself, what's the connection or the correlation between these beautiful girls on the runways and my mom and my grandmom in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania? And of course, the
Yeah.
answer is the lack of happy, healthy self-esteem.
Yeah. I deal with it as a therapist all the time with people with self-esteem, and it tends to be caused by somebody else, tends to come from somebody else.
From the natal
And
tribe, from your natal tribe.
yeah, it's one of the things that I'm always getting my clients to work on. And I say to them, you work on it forever. You always have to be working on that stay on top there as well. It's even with yourself, when you're like on cover of magazines and you're doing movies there, if you still got that self-doubt, if you still got that struggling with that confidence and self-esteem, do you think?
I think that the foundation for a lot of things my work was going well. I knew how to do my work well, and I was getting the accolades. But I think that there were some foundational pieces that hadn't yet been worked on. Was I lovable? Did I even know what love is? Did I know how to love? Was I doing that right? Was I being kind? Was I being, was I socializing? Was I integrating? Did I know how to create any relationships really? Because, just by default, first of all, it's one of the businesses par excellence in the world that is rife with rejection. So that, you're always
Yeah.
working on, rejection. You're not pretty enough. You're not ugly enough. You're not tall enough. You're not short enough. You're not, blonde enough. You're not brown enough. You're not heavy enough. You're not skinny enough. You're too skinny, like all the things, right? That's, that's the nature of the beast of that business. And then it was you were constantly traveling. You were never in one place long enough to have a relationship, right? So I think that relationship was one of the things, people say to me, what are the one thing, if looking back, that you would spend a little more time on or work a little bit harder on? And that would be relationship. Now, remember that when I was doing this, I didn't have internet. There were no cell phones. There's no way to keep in contact. When I wanted to, be in contact with my family at home, I was sending airmail back to
Yeah,
the
man.
States, airmail back to the States.
It's a different envelope.
It's a different envelope. You're exactly right. And so that was my communication. Of course, I never got anything back, but I would send stuff. And so yeah, there was that. There was that. And then, there was a lot of anxiety then for me, and always the navigation of depression. So notwithstanding the
Yeah.
fact that it's always up and always, full of life and full of energy. And, I was always the life of the party. I could always make anybody laugh, which was one of the superpowers, that I had. That was poo-pooed. That was frowned upon by my family. That wasn't a good thing. Being able to do the impression of Ethel Merman was not a good thing. All the things, right? So I had to learn that again, the generational, traumas, the familial tribe, that I had to learn that once I got out the front door, nothing was as etched in stone as I was taught. That there was wiggle room to become who I wanted to be. In fact, in the Self-Esteem Regime, my book, the first chapter, and regime, by the way, because it's an organized way of doing things. And I know in Europe, regime is a kind of a cautious word, but here in the United States, it's an organized way of doing things. And so the book is a manual that starts out with the first chapter is release, as we all know. I mean, we can't get anywhere unless we release a lot of the old junk and gunk
Yeah. Yeah.
that we're holding on to. And then the
Yeah.
second chapter is rebuild. And that's where you get to build the life that you want to have for you, because you know what's going to serve you best. And this is where a lot of this is courage, because people's noses are going to get a joint. You're going to offend somebody, and somebody's going to get pissed off, and the tribe isn't going to love the way you're going to start your growth journey. They're not
Yeah.
always going to jump on board with that, and you have to, what we call self-confidence is, so confidence in Latin has a Latin root. So con is with, and fidens is trust. Fidere. Trust. So confidence. So it's trust in self is what self-confidence is. And that's what you have to really harness, is that trust in yourself, that you know what's best for you, that you will do what is best for you, and that you will navigate. If everybody else isn't on board, that's a their problem. It's not a you problem. And you don't mean that in a snobby way. You mean that in a really healthy way for your growth.
With yourself, when did you realize? Because back in the day, a lot of people didn't even know what self-esteem was, not as they do now. So when did you realize that I don't feel good, something needs to change? How old were you then, and what were you doing?
I think that when I turned 26, I had my first and most devastating depression. And I was, by the way, work-wise, I was on, see, but this is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Work-wise, I
yeah,
was on top of the crest. I was really doing well. And then I had a relationship that broke my heart. And that's where I had to learn about heart and love, um and and come to learn that I didn't know anything about love, because I wasn't brought up in an environment that taught me love. Yes, my mother was loving and my father was fine at times, but it wasn't a loving environment. Therefore, I didn't know about love. Love is something, that I had to, and do we ever learn about it? Because then we'd be here all day about how every relationship is different, and how love is a little different each time, because we're individuals you come
yeah,
together as one person, two person, have two entities, and you together now as a third entity, right? So you
yeah.
have to learn how to navigate that. And not everyone has the same growth pace. In fact,
No.
a lot of people don't even know that there's such a thing as growth, right? And personal development and self-improvement, and wanting to be a better person tomorrow than you are today. And what's it going to take to get there? And what do you need to learn to know it and to do it? So there's a lot of stuff here, like they say self-esteem, it's just a 60s catchword. And we know, never compare yourself to somebody else. It is
Yeah.
so much broader and so deeperly than most people will ever imagine. The human, obviously the psyche, right? And so look, I'm no doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist. I've written my book purely on life experience. And what I will say are a couple of different things that I think are really important. And people say, well, okay, I am enough. You are enough. We are enough. Everybody's enough. There's this thing out there. Oh, I am enough. So I went, okay. So I took a look at the definition of enough one day, and the definition of enough is only as much as is required. Now, I don't know about you, but
Yeah.
I know about me, and I am so much more than is required. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
That's the minimum for me.
right? So the new mantra is now I am so much more than enough.
Yes. Yes.
Another thing we like to compare. That's one thing is it's in the human condition, if you will, to, we compare ourselves to others, especially at the event of with social media. But here we go with, keeping up with the Joneses. And so, oh, look at over there. The grass is always greener on that side. I wonder why the grass is always greener on that side. Well, I would like to invite you to think a couple of things. And that is the grass always greener on the other side, or is it always greener where you water it? And so bring it back home, worry about yourself, work on your own self-improvement, get into your books, your courses, your classes, documentaries. There's all kinds of learning now that you have access to that we didn't have back in the day. I didn't have access to it back in the day, that you're able now to understand a little bit more about and your learning, your growth, right? The other thing about the grass being greener on the other side, is it really grass or is it astroturf? So is it real? Is it plastic? Is it unreal? Is it your
Yeah.
perception of, right? Especially again, coming back to social media, we see, oh, look at the new car so-and-so got. Oh, look at that house that they got. Oh, look at the villa. Look at, and by the way, I'm thrilled for everyone's success, and I applaud
Yeah.
anyone who's being really successful. Take nothing away from that. So good on them. But, a lot of the times people will put on social media what they want you to think, right? And so again, perception, be real careful about perception. That's just a couple of real quick nuggets around self-esteem that I think are important. I think we really need to be tying into our value systems, because I don't even think people understand what the hell that is anymore. And so if your value system is your blueprint, it's the way you present, whether you present your personal life, your business life, or whatever you present, wherever
Yeah.
you want to present, get those values really, really, really sharp, really clear, bring them to every table you sit down at and stick to that. There's a line in the sand that you will not cross. And
Yeah.
that is really where you start to live in your integrity. Integrity is who are you when nobody else is looking, right? When nobody else is in the room, you're going to steal that $100 off the desk, or, are they going to find it when they get back, kind of thing. So, and your character, again, I always say, how do you untangle Christmas lights? That's what your real character
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Lots of little, nuggets like that around self-esteem. And, your value system, again, is a really, really important thing. Another thing that we never really think, I'm sorry, I'm sure you want to ask a question, but the other
No,
thing,
you carry on. You carry on.
yeah, I went, I thought about this a couple weeks ago. I went, birthright. Birthright. I've heard it. Think I know what it is. Let me take a look. And it was so important to understand what is our birthright, right? It was coming up on 11/11 now. It's 11/11. And so your birthright is, I'm just going to read it just a second. You deserve to
Yeah.
live in a peaceful home. You deserve to live in a peaceful home and a peaceful existence. Well, God, and you talk about opening up, a can of worms there. So you deserve to be here. You're not an accident. I'm going to go quickly through this. You deserve to be loved, and you deserve the love. A lot of people, it's like people think that that's a privilege. No, no, no. You kind of merit that. You deserve to feel everything, your joy, your ecstasy, your rage, and ecstasy. You deserve to be able to feel everything. You deserve to speak your truth. Wow. Like you have the right to express yourself and to stand tall in your convictions. You deserve, to be able to say yes and no. Big ones. I mean, we're saying them quickly, but each one of them is like, okay, when did I say no that I wanted to say yes? And vice versa. When did I say yes? Okay. And I really wanted to say no. You deserve to rest, because a lot of people, I've grown up in my house. You could never rest. You were not allowed to just lay around and lope around. If you didn't have anything to do, they'd find something for you to do, kind of thing, And then you deserve to be seen and heard, and you deserve to be celebrated. So, I think a lot of people would have some issue with some of the things, but those are your birthright. Those are the things that,
Yeah.
like if I say, Lee, you really deserve to be celebrated. And somebody tried to do that when we were having a discussion before, and you were like, what, who, me? Remember when we had the pre-show?
Yeah. Yeah.
They said,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, you're such an inspiration, or whatever they said to you. And you went, why? What do you mean? It's just me. I'm just Lee.
Yeah. Yeah.
Open yourself up to being able to be celebrated for the work that you have done in your life, right? That brings you to, like you're not a cuckoo, like you're normal. Your whole life has been dedicated to helping others through, their pain because of the pain that you experience, I think that's to be celebrated.
Yeah. What I found with like, especially whether it's like myself back in the day or clients, they don't have any self-esteem. They don't have any boundaries. They often don't know that they deserve to be treated in that way. So sometimes when I say to them, no, the minimum requirement is your parents or your partner treats you in this, and they look like I'm from the moon. They're like, really?
Here's the
And
deal
I'm
on
like,
that.
that's the minimum requirement.
Here's the deal on that. Thanks, mom. Thanks, dad. We know you did the best you could. No hard feelings, whatever. Because that is really where you start to honor yourself, is when you
Yeah.
start to honor your parents, notwithstanding the fact that they could have been blatantly like the worst parents on the planet. Thank you for what you've done. Thank you for what you did. I wouldn't be who I am today, Lee. And by the way, I don't want to say I'm all that, but I've done fairly well, and I
You've
know
done all right.
because I wouldn't be the person that I was today without the parents that I was born to. Because of the people that I was born to, I knew, I had to learn this and I had to learn that and I had to experience this and I had to feel that pain and I had to my own personal growth, which is what I continue to invite everyone else to do. The emotional abuse we go through, the herd mentality that we come through, the belief system, all that stuff is stuff that we can reparent ourselves. Like, thanks, mom.
Yeah.
Thanks, dad. Take what serves me, leaving the rest. And now, chapter 2, rebuild. I get to build now the life that I want. And I'll tell you, that is a joyous place to be. That is so much fun.
I've seen with like, again, with clients where they come to therapy and they're in a really dark place. And I explain things to them. I'm very to the point, matter of fact, there, because I want to hit the ground running, don't want to waste time. And I say that, right, we can do these things. And if you do this and you follow what I tell you, you will get results. You will still feel better. You will feel a lot better than what you do. I promise you. And it will be life changing. That's sure. Because I've been like this for years. And often within a few weeks doing the strategies that I say, getting them to offload and process and talk about things, you can see the difference and they can feel, how you feeling? Yeah, I feel amazing. I can't believe how I don't feel stressed. I don't feel anxious. I said, all you got to do is be consistent and keep doing what you're doing, keep going in the right direction, still keep believing in yourself, keep doing what you're doing. And then they actually start believing that they can make changes and that feeling they had isn't permanent. It doesn't define them and they can actually change it. So yeah, it can be an amazing thing when you start rebuilding yourself, especially if you're starting from bottom and you've been at that bottom for years.
One of the things that I stole from Louise Hayes, I'm sure you know of her work, Jack Canfield, the other, Jack Canfield, the
Yeah, Jack Canfield, brilliant. Yeah.
right now for the she for the soup for the soul series. She can soup for the soul. Got it.
Yeah.
And then with Mark Victor Hansen, both of whom I know. Mark put into his work also what Louise had, and it's called mirror therapy. I'm sure you've heard of it. And that's where you go into the mirror and you have a nice little chat with yourself. And boy, I will tell you, you talk about a rectifying moment when you sit down in front of a mirror, and a lot of people it's going to take a lot of people to do because it looks weird, it feels weird, it sounds weird. You want to do it when no one else is home. You're going to close the bathroom door, like whatever you have to do it because it's an extremely intimate moment that you have with yourself. It's not something you really want to be shared, at least in the beginning. And so it's when you come in and you do your own rah-rah session and it goes something like this. Hey, Clarissa, how you doing? It's really good to see you today. You're looking rather well. And I wanted to let you know that we've got a big day ahead of you. And I know you're really ready for it because you prepared well. I know you're going to knock them dead. I also wanted to say, I want to let you know how sorry I am for, staying in that relationship much longer than I should have because I knew it was over a long time ago. And staying in it a little bit longer probably hurt you more than it helped you. So sorry about that. And I want to also let you know how much I love you because I think you're pretty amazing. And by the way, that interview you gave the other day with Lee, top stuff. I mean, I think you really left this audience with some really great stuff. So good on you. Nice chat. Talk to you soon. And off you go. I'm telling you, to be able to do that for some people is almost impossible. Some people, when people look at themselves in the mirror, there are two ways to approach a mirror. It's look into a mirror or at a mirror. You can
Yeah.
look into the mirror, you can look at the mirror. So when I'm looking at the mirror, I am preening. I'm brushing my hair, I'm doing my makeup. And then when I look into the mirror, I'm screening. And that's where I start to really go right down into my soul and pull out the stuff that's there. And for some people to say, hey, Clarissa, I want you to know, I really love you. I love you. I just love you. Look, do I do this? No, I don't do this every day, but I want, people to understand that as silly as it sounds, it is I think the foremost exercise that cuts through all the gunk. Take a tissue with you, bring it with you. I get it,
Yeah.
Come back to
Yeah.
me. If you can do that for 1 minute a day, if you can do it for 5 minutes a day, even better. Start with 1 minute a day. Come back to me in 21 days and tell me how you feel
Yeah.
and how things are going. Then start
It,
talking to yourself about where you want to go, what do you want to be, what are your aspirations, and how you're going to get.
I think with what you do there is powerful because you're doing it different to what a lot of other people do. And the way you're doing it is like in a real positive way. The ones that people I've dealt with and people on my podcast, they look in the mirror when they're at rock bottom and they've got nowhere else to go. And when I've listened to their stories that they go, yeah, I'm in the mirror. I've got nowhere else to go. I've run out of excuses. I've realized how bad I look, and they've got nowhere else to go. So they're doing that on like in a real extreme level with the way that you're doing.
That
Positive.
is that's a celebratory moment. As bad as it
Yes,
feels,
yes.
crappy as that is, it's
Yeah,
a celebratory moment because there's only one way, and that's up. There's
exactly.
only one way to go, and that's
Yeah,
forward. And so, yay on you, good on you. So let's start working toward that path. I often talk about going the extra mile, right? And this is
yeah,
gonna you'll understand. How we hear about going the extra mile. Oh my God. All
yeah.
right, we're all ready to go the extra mile. Okay, because we've heard that, the 1% goes the extra mile, and we're gonna go. Okay, everybody, let's go. It's just me. I'm by myself. I thought we were going to be a whole bunch of us here this morning ready to go that extra mile, and it doesn't work that way. It's not going to. So here's the deal. That extra mile is dark and it's dank and it's cold and it's chilly and it's humid and it's rainy, it's drizzly, and you don't have your wellies, I think you guys call them, on, and you don't have
Yeah.
raincoat on, and you don't have an umbrella, and God, and there I think I see a wolf behind that tree right there, but I'm not sure because it's so dark, but it's very, very far away down there. I see this little teeny pinpoint of light, little teeny one, but I see it. And people, are usually going to turn around and regress. They're going to walk back because it's a scary place to go. But if you put
That comfort zone.
yeah, in front of the other, and you get closer and closer to that light as it grows bigger, bolder, brighter, and more beautiful. I'm telling you, it is so liberating. So liberating. So here we are talking about fear, right? And the fear of also failure, which is always your first attempt in learning. So, you're not going to get right the first time. That's okay. Just keep trying. And that light is just the coolest darn thing on the planet. It's and you'd be really happy that that light is there because it means it believes in you too, or it wouldn't have
Yeah,
presented itself.
yeah. And when you can see there's something in sight, whether it's the finish line or you're getting closer to it, that builds your momentum. That really helps there as well. And then you get to that point. And I remember this when I was studying to be a therapist. I've got so far into university with my qualifications, and I realized I haven't got that long to go. And I remember thinking, I'm so close to the finish line, no matter what comes my way, I will overcome it. It actually, for the first time in my life, I felt 100% confident. And I knew I actually had power that I would get through that course because I'm too close to let that slip now, no matter what. And that for me was liberating.
Absolutely. There's also another thing called, and this is Dr. Stephen Hawking's. I know you know him. You've heard of him. He's created
Cool. I got his books.
yeah, you know about the energetic vibrational scale then,
Yeah.
right? The vibrational scale that, at the very
Yes.
bottom of the scale, you've got shame, guilt, apathy, grief, all the things. And then in the middle
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
and then at the very top, the last is like love, joy, peace, and enlightenment. And on any given day,
Yeah.
I'll take a look at this and I'll go, where am I on the scale today? Because it fluctuates, not gonna lie.
That's a good run to do.
And so
Yeah.
where am I? And if I'm getting whoa, 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 no, okay, what do I need to do? Where are all the self-care pieces that I can, again, I call them my tools in the shed on any given day at any given time. If I need that extra oomph, that extra boost, whatever it is that I need, I also have a pretty cool morning ritual that I start out the day with. And so it's always positive stuff. I've got the essential oils that are, diffusing and peppermint, and I've got my, lounge chill music going on, and I've got, some YouTube thing that's pulled up with like some, hertz, 928 hertz going, and I've got 900 books on the couch that are all personal, like rah, rah, quotes. I put out just the idea, Lee, that I put out pretty much every day an inspirational quote keeps me in the loop of
Yeah.
inspirational quotes. So I keep myself at a place. Now, look, life is life. I get it. I often talk about that tempest, and here it comes. Oh, it's a hurricane, and the storm is coming, and all the things. But I got the tool in the back, right? That tool in the shed. I got that back there. The tool's in the shed, and here comes that storm. But what? Just like a tree that it's standing well in its stead, right? It's well rooted, right? We want to be standing strong in our stead because we've done the work, the books, the courses, the classes, the documentaries, the YouTubes, all the things. So here it comes, and as it blows through, we might lose a leaf, and potentially we've lost a branch. But we're not going to be uprooted with the storm and transported away because no matter how bad it gets, we've got tools in the shed now that we didn't have before that we can call on and apply. And that's
Yeah.
really, really, really paramount for me.
I'm guessing you must use law of attraction. You must use affirmations.
I do, absolutely. But the book has the affirmations, Clarissa's
Yeah.
Corner, the clarion call. We talk about the daily demons. We've got case studies. You've got homework. Like my book is not reading about self-esteem, it's doing it. So it's really a manual, if you, and for me, the self-esteem regime is a mission, a manual, and a movement, right? Want everybody to jump on
Yeah.
board with this because it really is, again, it's how you present, who you are when you get to the table, and you need to be coming as complete as you possibly can, especially when you take the responsibility of somebody else's heart. When you get into a relationship with someone else, if they are not vibrating at your same level, if they are not willing or if they're not growing, and I'm not going to say at your same level, I mean, if they're not interested at least in continual and perpetual personal development, and growth, you're probably not going to make it. And unfortunately, too many young couples don't know that, right? Because invariably one
Yeah.
person's gonna grow faster than the other, and that's where you lose one another. In every marriage, I think that it's really important that
Yeah.
you both come as complete as you possibly can with, the steps that you guys are willing to take in order to stay in lockstep with one another as you move through life.
I think with relationships, I get it all the time with clients where they just drifted apart. The guy has
Yeah.
watched TV, he's on his phone, he's not interested. The lady's growing, for example, she wants to go to college, better herself, get a job. And the person you both were 10 years ago is completely different. They're just in different directions there. And I think with the relationship, you have to grow together. You need to know whether you're compatible. I have this conversation a lot where a lot of people go, yeah, but we had such a connection at the start. Okay, did you sit down with each other, as you guys say, resumes, and see if you actually fit with each other? Because that is something that's going to fade kind of quickly. Are you suitable? Do you have the same beliefs? Do you have the same goals? Do you have the same, are you pretty much aligned? A lot of times they're not aligned. So at some stage, they're going to go into different directions and they might be too late.
Men are usually taught at a very early age to stifle emotions. I know you, especially, I'm going to say, I don't mean to absolutely don't anyway, but English are famous for, for kind of these things, of, kind of holding back emotions a little bit.
Stiff upper lip, it was known in
There
the
you
day.
are, there you are, the stiff upper lip. And so, at an early age, they're taught that, and it's no
Yeah.
crying. Whereas we're not trying to raise weak men. We're trying, we should be trying to raise men that can deal with their emotions, that they are emotionally intelligent. If you're not coming to the table with emotional intelligence, you're coming, half a shell. And
Yeah.
so, let's really, especially I think we need stronger men leaders that are out there kind of preaching and teaching this kind of, because most guys are not, it's not in their sphere. They're not seeing it, excuse me, hear it. It's like, their reticular activating system isn't pulling in this kind of information because they don't even know what's out there really.
Yeah.
And I just think it's really important that, we, again, when we're talking about suicide rates, we were talking about children for a really long time. We're talking about middle school, high school, and college age kids were either about 48% of our kids here post-COVID were anxious, depressed, thinking about committing suicide, or had committed suicide. That's an enormous number of children as they're growing. Again, remember post-COVID, they were at home, they were locked down for years, and masks and all the things. It was pretty traumatic for young kids to go through something like that. And now they've been superseded by men on the suicide list. Men are at the top spot now for suicide. And that is, think, and I am no scientist, doctor, I don't have a doctorate and none of the things, but I think it's because post-COVID, a lot of men lost their self-worth because they lost their jobs.
Yeah.
and didn't
Yeah.
really know where to go from there and couldn't
Yeah.
provide for the family,
Yeah.
may have had a nagging wife or all the things. I don't know. I wasn't there. I can only surmise. But, it's a heavy load for men. It's a heavy, heavy load. And so I think more men need to be reaching out to more men. I think
Yeah.
you guys need to sort of normalize the ideas. Hey, man, you got a minute? I'm not good. I
Yeah.
need to talk. Or
Uh, uh,
going up as, hey, man, how you doing? You all right? Seriously, you're good? Yeah, want to go grab a beer? You need to talk about it? Let's go. And just make yourselves available to each other for, for those times and those moments because men are really going through it.
yeah. I'll see some videos on men struggling, how difficult it is. It is very difficult to be a guy. You can't just get on with it. I'll tell my clients the worst thing you can do is just get on with it. You'll pay a price for it. The amount of men that I've had come to me, they're like, yeah, first time they've been to therapy, really nervous, big, strong guys. Take a seat. What are you here for? And they just burst into tears. And
Right.
it's like years been in the making for that to happen. When I say to them, yes, fine, good. And I, because I'm very blunt to the point, and I said, if I've got a client that bursts into tears, I'm like, great, we're probably going to make some progress. Somebody comes to me and they can tell me their trauma without batting an eyelid, we've got a lot of work to do. So that when the guy realizes that they're with somebody that kind of in a nice way doesn't care that they're in floods of tears, they're like, well, actually, do you know what? Maybe this isn't so bad. Because for me, as a therapist, I'm glad I know what I know. Having emotions is essential. It's so important. We're designed to show our emotions. It's the strength by being vulnerable, by showing your emotions. Trying to hold them back in, that's the weakness there. Don't do it. You will pay a price for it. So it's good that more people do it now.
You created that safe space for them. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And guys need to be knowing that that's really cool. That's a great thing to be, it's great, great work. Glad to hear that.
Yeah, it's good. It's funny because I had guys that's come to me and they've burst into tears. They've had their therapy, and at the end of their therapy, I'm like, yeah, they're like, yeah, I think I'll come to the end now. I'm like, yeah, it's all good. We've done what we needed to do. And they're in tears leaving. They're like, I feel bad that I'm leaving. I was like, well, your work's done. And they're like, can I come back? Yeah, if you need to come back, you know where I am. You got my number. Send me an email if you got a question. All right, Lee. And off they go. You know that they've had a good journey and a good experience. Yeah,
That's
but it's good there. What was it that made you write that book? What was the defining moment for I'm going to write a book about this?
I was on stage and I had given a speech, and there was this gentleman in the audience. And after I was, I came down on stage. He says, "I've got to write your book." And I went, "Well, that'd be really cool." He's a literary agent, which was great. And we wrote the book in 2022 quickly. Sorry, 2020 very quickly. I had gone to a couple of book shows with him in New York City at the Javits Center and all the things. And we were looking for a publisher. We got picked up by a New York City publisher, which was miracle number one. Miracle number two is we got picked up with an advance, and we got picked up during COVID, which is miracle 2 and 3. Then the book has been 5 years on the shelves at Barnes and Noble, where I used to go to look for the help myself. So it's kind of a circle around moment and coming, what do they call full circle moment.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a crowning moment for me. And because when I go in there, Lee, I don't know if you know who Brene Brown is. Brene Brown is one of
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah, of course I do.
Oprah's circle.
Got, she's great.
So it's Brene Brown, Clarissa Burt, Dr. Deepak Chopra, and Dr. Joe Dispenza, all on the same shelf. Every time I walk into those damn stores, I pinch myself. I just
I,
cannot. So I
I,
knew it was kind
yeah.
of it was like the universe saying, "This is where you're supposed to be. This is where you wanted to be. This is where you want to be. This is where you can do your greatest work. This is where you can help the most people." And it all flowed pretty seamlessly.
I think first thing I'd say is if my book was amongst those, I'd be taking a picture and probably sending it to
Oh
as
yeah,
many people as I
it's
knew.
been out on social for a while. Yeah, I do like to brag a little, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Also
absolutely.
coming out with in October, I'm starting my own podcast. It's called Shelf Mates. And what it is are the authors that are in the personal development section with me at Barnes and Noble. So I'm going to go and round them all up and interview them all.
I think that's a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
Oh, my last question was going to be, what's next? Okay, so apart from your podcast, that I need to write a book to get on. Okay,
Yeah,
so that's an incentive to get started.
yeah, you sure? No. I have another show. It's called Just in the Limelight with Clarissa, and we
Sure.
talk about everybody there. So
What's next for you? What's apart from that podcast? What's next?
I am now creating the sequel now to all this is called Living an Esteemed Life. Living an Esteemed Life is now the speech, it's the book, and it's the course, the workbook. The speech is something I'm missing. What else is it? So Living an Esteemed Life is, I think that's it. It's a new book, it's the workbook, it's the speech and the retreat. So the idea of having, women come in, much like what you're doing, right, with your clients, is having them come in, we do the retreat. The 4 pillars of self-esteem are look good, feel good, be good, and greater good. We work on those 4 pillars with my book, obviously, and do a lot of the work that, the great work that, we are, that's us light, let's call them light healers, the people that beat from the chest that can't stand to see other people in pain. So that's
Yeah.
who we are, and that's how we roll.
That is that is great. We've been speaking for absolutely ages, and it still feels it's like 10 minutes. It's gone so quickly. Absolutely love talking to you. Love everything you said. It's a fascinating story. I really love all the things that you've done and you're doing there as well. Congratulations on all your achievements there, and hopefully come back for a part 2 with an update of everything that you're doing there. Thank you
Ew.
so much for
Oh,
coming on.
thank you, Lee.
Thank you.